Welcome back. My name is Dr. George Mochocki, and you're taking me an online, face-to-face, or blended class at a community college. And this is we're at the end of our course requirement. I think it's 21 chapters. Make sure you utilize My Biz Lab by Pearson and the book that we're using for additional supplemental information. Remember, this class here is an introductory to corporate finance. So we're doing just the overview. I want you to conceptually understand. I'm so surprised that students already had accounting, cost accounting, operational accounting. They know how to do the math, the mechanistic part of it, but they don't understand the conceptual part of it. So what this course is to introduce you to vocabulary, introduce you to identifying what other companies are doing, introduce you to be a practitioner, able to take concepts and able to try to apply them or try to understand them, how they may affect your organization. Right now you're not a chief financial officer, but you're in finance, so you have to understand what's going on. You may be a stockholder, you may be a middle manager that has to understand these concepts. Okay, so we're doing pretty good, and I'm going to try to keep this video here. This one's a little bit longer, maybe under a half an hour, hopefully 20 minutes, because we're just going to do an overview. Look at the discussion board, the lectures we have, the article reviews that students bring into the class and talk about things that are happening pertaining to this chapter, and then I add on to it so they could say, oh, now I see. This isn't just theoretical information, but this is actual information that is utilized in corporation, or I may be able to utilize for my small business, medium company, or a large corporation as an input, saying, hey, this is going on. Maybe this could help us bring our value of the corporation up. Okay, so today we're going to talk about working capital management. In basic words, how do I utilize the capital, the investments that I have, that I'm maximizing my profitability or return on my investment? Now, remember, in finance, one thing I could do, in here we're going to talk about credits, everything else. What do I get by buying from a certain supplier over another supplier? Those are decisions. Forget about the. You still look at the quality and delivery and everything else as we do in management, but I'm always looking, do I get the best deal? And if you're looking at the Trump administration, whether you like him or not, he's a business person. He's always looking, let's see the best deal we have. You can't get locked in and reorder just because this is status quo. You have to always change. That's part of finance. I'm always looking, do I have the best deal? Is another company offering? Is another product? Is another way? Someone's giving me a better discount. What are my accounts receivable? Maybe I got too long of a turnaround to get my money back. That's money that I let people buy my product, but I need the faster, the shorter payback period they have, the quicker I could have cash, so I don't have to take out a loan. I could buy new products. I could reinvest. I could do a lot of things. So finance is a complex discipline. Interesting. Those of you like to always find it's almost like technology. How do I change here? What's going on? Today I'm doing well. Tomorrow I may be on the cuff of going bankrupt. You don't know because something could happen. Remember, external forces and internal forces, you always have to be aware. So here you're going to look at internal forces, and then you're also going to be looking at external forces. And part of finance, either I'm getting here a best deal, or if I'm issuing bonds like we talked before, CDs, or I'm buying bonds or CDs or stocks in another company because they have a higher return on my investment other than putting it into a saving institution or something else. I'm always trying to make money, 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 money for the organization. Like it or not, those who are going to go for your master's is all about the money. You may be taking accounting, you may be talking about marketing, operations, everything else. It's all about the money. How much is it costing me to deliver a product or a service to my customer, and then how much profitability I would like to get on that return. Anywhere between 40 to 60% profitability on my investment. And that's, remember, we talked about the discounting, that I'm tying up money now to make money, but am I making just enough to break even? That doesn't make sense. If you're in a downturn, the economy downturn, that does make sense. But in other ways, how do I utilize my money more effectively? Do I charge, or do I pay cash, or do I get my discounts by buying by quantity, and we're doing that as individuals. What I'm trying to tell you, what you're doing in your home life, do I buy one box of Cheerios, or do I buy 5 boxes of Cheerios? Can I get so much per per ounce less, and you have to look at it because you utilize that. All right, and we've talked a little bit about inventory, and that's the biggest one because most of our money is tied in. So this chapter here, we're going to overview. We're going to talk about managing a float, credit, a receivable management. All right, 5 C's of credit. If I have a good credit, I pay my bills on time and everything. Similar to consumers, I will basically have a better deal because I'm at less risk to the organization. Remember, other companies are viewing me not only as an individual, as a corporation. What's the risk that you're going to pay me back? If you have a higher risk of paying me back, your interest rates are going to be charged higher. You've been in the business longer, your interest rates may be lower. All right, I'm monitoring accounts receivable. Accounts receivable is money people owe me. You know, if my accounts receivable normally, I think on the, right now the economy is good, so I should have a maybe about 10 to 15% default on my accounts receivable. When the economy takes a dive, if it takes a dive, and it may take a dive, because remember the cycle, business goes through cycle, financials goes through cycle. Federal Reserve already, they issue all this debt. After a while, they got to do a reset. When it does a reset, as we talked in that earlier chapter, when we talked about the Federal Reserve, it basically starts from zero. It's like a bankruptcy, wipes out. So if that happens, and even though I'm solid and I have a product, my customers may not be buying. So now I may just be lucky to break even, not to go under, and hoping I pick it up on the way up, and then I should be all right. All right. So I have to manage. I don't buy as much inventory. I my accounts receivable from going from 10 to 15% default, maybe now at 50% or 60%. So I tighten up my accounts receivable. I don't give it to everybody, and I try to minimize that loss on me. All right, so let's go through the chapters. I got a 200, and let's look at the main components, and I'll flip this up. Remember, follow along with the concept maps. First read, look at the YouTube, look at the homework assignment. The homework assignments are basically so you know the mathematic portion of it, but I'm here, I'm trying to get you to understand the conceptual, the application of corporate finance. We're going through a lot of chapters, 21 chapters, introduction, new language. So now I see, oh man, I see all these pieces. My head, and some of the students telling the material's getting a little hard. It is because you're looking at the mechanic, but I want the concepts aren't that hard. Okay, so here's my working capital, cash, how much money I have, cash available. Remember we talked about liquidity. Under need a year, over a year it takes longer to the most liquid asset is cash. Inventory, 60% of my, or other than employee payment, is basically inventory. I got to buy it 6 months, a year in advance, or I got to lock in manufacturing time or whatever into a commodity that is part of my inventory. So how much is that costing me? That's money I can't use now. That's why when you go to Costco's or Sam's, you already see Christmas stuff or holiday stuff or Halloween stuff. Man, it's not even, it's still in the summer. What are they doing? Because they already got the inventory. Let's say some people may be the early bird. At least I'm making some money in that inventory. I'm not making much. Most of my money is going to be when the season comes up. But what's happening with the inventory, the money I'm making now could pay to storage that inventory, to at least pay off my interest or my minimum payment until it's due. Okay, and those are the agreements you have to make with your supplier. Receivables, we talked again from our part of factoring. If I need cash, do I take a loan or do I sell some of my accounts receivable? Now you sell, if I'm a buyer, I'm not going to take your risky accounts receivable. I want your good accounts receivable. Now those are the ones that keeps money coming in, even though they're not buying. I got my own charge cards, I got everything else. So I give them a credit, but they're always repeat customers. If I give them to another competitor, and usually you give them to a bank, you don't give them to a competitor, but now I don't have that connection with that customer. I can't give them the discounts because I don't control that portion of it. But now, I mean, but I need the cash. So I got to take a one-time loss. So I got to say, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm hopefully my accounts receivable will come up. And payables, how much do I have to pay to other people? What kind of terms and conditions do I have to be able to pay them? Okay, so now on page 586, it could be up because this is I think this is the fourth edition, if I'm mistaken. Yeah, so I should have the right page number. Okay, operating cycle. You have to look at your operating cycle, the average time between receiving inventory and receiving cash from that inventory. If I could, how many turns per year. If I could reduce my turns per year, that means I could sell my inventory faster and have it. If I look in a restaurant, if I got one turn per year to pay him back per month, that's not too good. If I could do two turns within the month, hey, I could still, and I pay them on a 30-day cycle, I could use their money without any kind of interest with that turn because I'm turning it around fast enough. Okay? All right, so now cash cycle. When I'm looking at cash cycles, remember, follow along. The book goes into detail and it's going over. Time between you pay cash to purchase inventory and receive from sales and output. Do I pay on delivery? Do I pay after a while? Do I get some kind of grace period? Do I pay in 30 days? Do I pay in 40 days? All those are things that have to be consideration and calculated. So you remember, because a lot of business fail for cash flow. They've got a good name, they got a lot of investment, but they don't have working cash, which hurts their credibility down the road because they're late on their payment. If I get them on time or I pay earlier, I could get more cash back in. But I got to look at my own cash cycle. When are my bills coming? And that's what we do on the thing. I get my check twice a month or two times every 2 weeks, and then I get different bills. I try to align my payments so I had the money to pay for that. It would a little extra just in case something would happen. And you could make the negotiations. If well, all my bills are at the end of the month, and I know I get paid twice a week, so say, hey, I want some at the beginning of the month. So you paid that one little week because they got to do they prorated, so they bring your payment from the 30th to the 15th. But now you're operating with the cash within that working capital. You don't have to take a short-term loan. You're not worried how you're going to pay the bill, and it affects your credit score. Remember, business credit score is just a little bit different than the consumer. But for this class, let's look at them that they're similar. All right, there's a little different things. Businesses have a little. Let's just leave it at that, just so in your mind you understand what I'm talking about. Okay, now cash conversion cycle. If I'm looking at this, it measures the cycle calculated for sum of inventory and days account receivable less the accounts payable. What I owe them. Remember, there's cycles, and I got to make sure that I got those cycles tied in, so I got the cash when I need them, and I got the cash to pay them, and I got the cash available. So I have to look at those cycles. It's like any kind of a manufacturer. I'm looking at the procedures or processes, and same thing with finance. Okay. Working capital needs by industry. Okay, the longer a firm's cash cycles, the more working capital it has, the more cash to carry out the daily operation. On page and look at table 19.1a, I don't have it in there. Customers pay in advance. How do I encourage customers? How kind of trade? Why do I take it? Remember, in finance, I wait to the last minute to pay my bills, but I try to convince my clients that owe me money to pay as soon as possible. If you're a small business owner and you're taking this class for a corporate, here's what the minute you do the activity, that bill is out there. The minute ComEd or anything, I know they got the smart meter, they send me that bill and say, they don't wait. So I complete a task. A lot of small business and medium customers wait to the end of the month to do all their billing. No, the minute that customer I completed the obligation to my client by my services, I send that bill out right off the bat. Now remember, when you're sending bills and then some kind of what do you call it, trade discounts, everything else. Don't put your advertising and everything else in the mailing because it goes to the accounting department, payable department. They're not looking at all these ads. All they're doing is to pay the bills. They throw all that out. You have to spend. I know I'm saving some money, but is it worth it? All right, that's a little of my marketing on there. Okay, firm firm value and working capital. Capital management can increase the firm value. If I have more money, my value, my organization is better because I don't have the loans. I don't have anything else. I can buy my what they call opportunity costs. If I have a line of credit, and I had to pay 5%, 6%, whatever it is, interest rate, that cash is no longer available to me. It's like it's taken out. The same thing if you look at the Federal Reserve. What the Federal Reserve do? It basically is a separate entity. I just want to tie that so you understand our work. And they print money for the U.S. government. It's a private institution. The minute they give me 5,000, let's say $500,000, I'm just using that as an example, or 500,000, I had to pay interest. I didn't buy nothing with it. What the heck? You just printing money for me. I got to pay interest. I'm already in debt. where if you'd be out of the Federal Reserve or something else, different control mechanism where you print your own money as a government, I don't have that interest to pay for someone to do it. You're basically paying a service fee to that organization. Look at that for company. If I got the line of credit, I'm paying that interest. That interest has to be paid back. Sometimes if I got 0%, 1%, remember I mentioned before, it's better off for me to, for lack of a better word, use their money and put my money, now don't spend it, and invest in something to get a higher return and just use that to offset that. And that improves my own cash cycle. If I need the money, I can always yank it out to pay it. I'm never short of that cash. I have it working for me. In finance, you don't put your money underneath the blanket, even underneath the mattress. Even petty cash, you're not making any money. Some companies, they may have close to maybe $1 million, larger organization, petty cash. Hey, I'm not making any money. Let's just work in some kind of, where we put it in a now some kind of savings account or something else where people could pull out the money as they need it and only have petty cash for that week. And even though their budget looks for more, you don't need all that there. You could still make money on the money, even if it's not much. Any penny you make, you're making money on the money. If it's sitting on my desk in my wallet, I'm not making any money on that. All right. Okay. So now let's look at the trade credit. Now you had this in what do you call it? In accounting and everything else, you know, how to calculate trade credit. You got to be on time. Trade credit, and there's a lot of different trade credit discounts, discount periods, credit. Let me close this off. All of this, it makes sense. When is the right time to use the credit and to pay them on time to it takes advantage of the credit. Right now, trade credit is a lot of money out there that's discounted. It's looking at, if you look at the states try to bring in Amazon, what they're giving, they're giving them a tax credit. They're not giving any money. You know, you guys pay for that, but they're giving them a credit off to that. So you could discount the price. It's just cutting into their profitability margin, but it's no cash coming out. But I get more cash coming in to work into my own cash cycle. Okay, so let's talk real quick. Remember, we talked about this in class. We did this, some good article reviews. We have that credit. Let me just get rid of this. I don't know if that shows up. Credit a firm extends to its customers the difference between receivables and payables and net amount firms consumed as a result of the credit transaction. When I give a trade credit for 5%, and if I got to take a loan out for 7%, I'm better off giving a trade credit and get that money so I don't have to take the loan out. I could calculate I'm saving 2% interest. Remember, I'm reducing it here, but I'm taking off. And so you're looking at balancing. Remember your cycles coming in, my credit, what I owe, payable. All those are in cycles. Let's get them synced in so I maximize my dollar that I spent, that I get the most out of my dollars, my purchases. I use every darn penny I could get out of that company. But if you miss it, see, they're betting that you're not going to make the payment on that, and then you got to pay the penalty or pay a higher the price. So that's a loss. You have to make sure you have the cycle. Technology helps me keep it in tune. But I got to look. I got a trade credit here. Another company's offering me a better trade credit. Okay, I'm making it. I can see I got 2% off, but their quality isn't as good. Their reputation isn't good. Their delivery isn't good. Affects my operation, and they need the supplies. It's light, so that affects that cycle. All these cycles got to work like this. So everything is working like a car. When I start the car, all these pieces, or your body, everything's working at the same time, so you're maximum efficient. Okay, okay. Now cash discount. Now cash discounts are kind of good. Discounts offered if it pays earlier. Okay, discount period, number of days the buyer has to take advantage. You take advantage. Remember, I'm live on here. Those who listened to me first time, and of a cash discount, you have to be able to take advantage of that discount. Remember, if the sale is on from Monday through Friday, and you come on Saturday, you don't get the sale. So you have to make sure you have the cash. I don't have the cash till Saturday. Too late. Too bad. Opportunity. Loss, for lack of a better word. Okay, credit period. Total length of credit extended to a buyer. Now remember, if I shorten the credit period, that means I get the cash faster, but it may have an effect on me as a business. I used to have 25 days, now they shortened it to 20 days. Wait a minute, oh geez. So I got to give them the cash faster, so I got to change my cycle, but another vendor, same equal or competitor is good and is giving me my regular 20, I'll switch. As long as everything, and remember, a lot of times when you look at suppliers in finance, you have your core suppliers that you rely on, that they do a lot of business with you, but you have a secondary core or different source of income in case just when something defaults, they get into some trouble, they get into a strike, a union, or a boycott, whatever, that other supplier will be able to pick up. That's what they're looking for. That's why you have the main, and then you have a secondary supplier, or some may have two or three, depending on the volatility of your product and the inventory that I need. If everything's in China now with the trade embargoes and everything else, okay, they're talking again. But hey, this could be an awakening for me. I can't have everything, all my eggs in China. Let's go to Vietnam. Let's go to Brazil. Let's go to Cambodia. Let's go to some other parts of the Asian or India, whatever that I could still have it. I still buy a lot from China, but I got a supplementary something that they already to say, hey, I need this little more. Do you mind upping this? And I'll give you more for the next year. And they'll, because they're already doing the product, that means they're happy on their end if they had the money. Or sometimes I may give them money to start off their production and help them out with a low interest loan for me. So now I have my other supplier because I create an incentive for them. Part of finance. Okay, now when I go management float is basically, let's go in here, collection float, amount of time the firm is able to use its funds. Remember, after customer pays is good, some pay early. Most of the business to business, they pay all at the, remember, they had the same classes like this. I paid at the last minute. I try to use all the discounts. Okay, mail float, and that's kind of obsolete. Very little is done through mail. It's all done electronically. But time firm receives customers' payment as customers mailed it. All right, remember, that's why they say you got to mail it 5 days early to make sure it's not late. So a lot of customers, older people, but a lot of businesses, they may pay by check, they may pay electronically. Some of them I don't trust. It depends how the system you have. Small business suppliers want it by check. Others are direct deposit on there, so it's electronic check going back and forth, so I can control the money or have automatic withdrawal. The minute it comes in, it automatically bills me. All that is set up, but if it does, there's a float by the time the post office gets it to you and everything else. Okay, processing flow. Now I get the check or I get it in there. It takes time to process a payment or deposit. There's a float on there. That's why the electronic, I deposit it the day before it's due. The money's there instantly, and then it's all done automatically. Even people, you got to check and balance to make sure, but everything's done automatically. I don't have any human innovation. Use technology to your advantage in finance because you could reduce the time you get your payment. Your whole thing is to have that cash in hand, okay? Availability float takes time to give the firm a credit for customers' payments, deposit. Look, if I use Amazon, I pay for it, I return it. They say, okay, it takes me 2 days to return it. You know, I don't like it, right? So I just want my money back. I'm just using that as an example a lot of people could relate to. Okay, so they owe me $100, and when do I get it back? Do I get it back? And I say, nah, I may get it back in a week later. Or if I pay some of my debit card, and I go, do you want me to put it back on your card? If you say yes, it may take a week, may take 3 days, depending on the organization. If it takes 3 weeks, even though month's coming, I don't have it available. A lot of times the debit card's like cash. I say, I want the cash. I pay the debit card. I'd rather take the cash because now or a store credit because I have it available now. Even though, oh, I want it back on my card, that's what they want. Because remember, even when they give it back to you, they don't give it back to you that day. They issue the credit. By the time it transfers everything else, they're still making money. Even by the minute, they're making money on your money. Finance. Okay, distribution flow. Now look, time it takes a firm to payments to suppliers actually result in a cash outflow. When do I pay them? I try to pay them the last minute because that money's not sitting underneath my blanket, my mattress, for lack of a better word. That money's in a savings account. That money's in a CD. That money's in something else that's earning interest. I pay them at the last minute and transfer that funds out to the last minute. Those you got your check. Try to get your check early. You got to go through accounting because that money's already sitting. It's not just sitting there waiting to pay. And retain earning is basically sitting there accrued payment expenses. It's sitting there in some kind of account making some interest, ready to distribute it at the ideal time. So you get it to make my commitment, but I'm making every penny on the penny. Okay, check clearing for 21 eliminates this distribution of float due to electronic checking. That's almost that. But still, people still use checks and everything else. It's still there, but not to that. I'd rather have it instantly because even the consumer knows it's paid, it's done because I wait till the last minute. Okay, credit and market fractions. Okay, on page 591 or give or two. Cost of trade credit. Price discount represent interest rate. Remember we talked about that. If I give them a discount, represent interest rate if I needed to get cash or take a loan. So if you understand the interest rate 6%, I got to take credit of 4%, right? You know what I mean? And I get that money sooner. And if I got to take a loan out to buy inventory, and I could get that cash, I could pay it. I'm saving 2%. That 2% on $1 million is a lot of money. You remember, we're talking small amounts in our own personal. Think just multiply with a lot of zeros at the end. Okay, common mistakes is using APR instead of earning to compute the cost of trade. Okay, APR no compound, effectual annual rate is what you're looking for. And my mind went a blank here. Okay, thinking of ear. Sometimes you hey, we're human. Come on, I got a lot of terminologies in here. Effectual annual rate takes compound interest into effect. Annual APR, basically annual percentage rate, is by the month. I want the whole yearly rate on there, so it gives me the true cost. Okay, cash management. Motivation for holding cash, alternative investments, and cash balances. And if you look at page 602, oops, I better hurry up. I'll be running a little bit late here. I want to keep it underneath a half an hour. Okay, receivables. Remember, when I look at receivables, determine your credit policy. Establish the standard. Establish credit terms. How much is it if you're late? This is how much it is. I give you 0%. When they give you 0%, they're using their money and everything else. What they're betting on that for some reason, once you make that error, the terms and condition, you go from 0% to 16%, 21%, 20. After a year, then you come back in. You see, they're taking a gamble on that. So be careful. Terms and condition and fine. Always look at the term. Don't look at the interest rates. It's nice. Terms and condition. What's the quality? What am I getting? Just gotta get a better rate. Does that mean? But I have more requirements or more default things that is to their advantage. You want the terms and conditions to be the advantage of the organization you're representing. That's fine. Establishing the credit terms. Remember, here's a general credit, but I'm a real good credit. I want to get that customer. I'll give them a better what do you call it, a credit policy, to somebody who's a higher risk, because they're more reliable, they're bigger customers, there's more potential. Once I get them connected with that, they'll buy more of my products. Okay, establish a credit policy. You got to have a credit policy. After this, here it goes with the. You get late. You can do it. Some companies, small companies, they're always paying late. They look at the short-term interest. They don't realize the ramification they have in the credit history, because it messes up the credit history because they're paying on time. When I have accounts receivable coming to me, management is based, to my company, is I'm betting that money's coming to me so I can pay my bills, so I don't have to take a loan out in that. Okay? I get the pop-ups. Okay. Now, 5 C's of credits. We talked about its character, the organization, capacity, how much enough cash to make the payments, capital, borrow has enough net worth. I mean, your collateral, or just you got the. Good name, good credit, good services, all right. Collateral, borrow assets, security loan, and conditions, borrower's economy. Remember, you're always looking at internal, you're looking at external, and then you're looking at competitors. In your banking or financials, you have to look at the suppliers, what's going on. If they're raising the rates, why? Could I do a substitute? The customers are very price sensitive on something else. What could I do to give the customer the same quality, but maybe find a different supplier? Generic, organic, right? Big difference. Or charge them more. So all this is, you got to look at. But this is basically the same thing that I'm being evaluated as a consumer for my credit score. Not only the credit score, just one aspect of why they're going to lend to me. Do I pay on time? Do I have the capacity? My job, I'm unemployed, or my job don't see any growth. I'm at the max. You know what I mean? Or I got my spouse is working. Or I got some other kind of income. I got other business ventures. I got other projects coming in that's going to bring me money on it. I got a new idea, so you can say, hey, in 6 months this is going to really harvest, and I'll start getting more capital. I'll take the gamble with you. How much collateral? How much capital do I actually own that I own? A lot of companies they lease everything else out. They don't own nothing except inventory. Hey, What the heck? You don't have no buildings. It's just inventory. Now is the inventory going to be good? Could I resell it? And how much could I sell it for? It will pay off my debt. Okay. And what are the conditions? Internal and external organization. If there's lawsuits against internal, or there's some kind of discourse, the employees want more money, blah blah blah, or I've got some kind of problems with my processes and everything else. Those are internal issues, and then the environmental issues. So you have to look at all this thing. Just remember, everything goes in the cycle. You have to, as a finance manager, take all these bits and pieces, and this software to help you, but you have to put them together, and so everything is spinning like that car. You turn that key, all you got to do, and the car runs. Hey, there's a lot of moving components, everything else, computers, everything else going, but that engine is working fine-tuned and giving the best return on your gas mileage. Right? And right now people ain't looking because the gas is inexpensive. The gas is five. I got to get a tune up. I got to do this. And same with the organization. Do I got to tune up my organization through the finance? And finance is looking at the dollars. Hey, you got to cut this. You got to improve your processes. Your labor costs are too high. You got to be more effective. Could you use the technology? I paid for this. In 6 months, I pay back, but now I'm reaping the harvest of that new equipment, or because I could do more jobs at a lesser cost, but still satisfy the customer's needs. Okay, and then monitoring accounts receivable, the days, average days it takes for a firm. We talked about that already to collect the sales. Aging scales categorizes firms' accounts by number of days that have been on the books, or dollar amount receivable. The different ways you're looking at your accounts receivable and make sure you got the right terms, to the customer. Some your accounts receivable are a little bit different. Remember, depending on the customers, the government, you can't get them on 30 days. They got 45 days no matter what, and you can't ever charge them late thing. But a government contract, it's all the paper. Some companies, all they do is government contracts, but they're good. They're good for the money. After a while, yeah, they pay a little bit more than, yeah, I don't want to say it's good. You see what the Trump administration, he's looking, here's what the government gives him for something, and he goes, nah, that's way too much. What the heck, are you crazy? Cut it down, cut it down, cut it down, cut it down. And the reason they charge them a little more because their payment, the receivable from the government, I can't charge them late, I can't sue them, I can't do this, but it takes me a little bit longer, so I embed that cost of the terms and everything else into my estimates that I give the government. And a lot of times the only product that I make is only used for the government. I can't do anything else with them. But it doesn't have to be U.S. government. I could sell everything else to other government. I'm just showing that as an example, remember? But you may be selling toilet paper. You may be selling a certain kind of clothing, fatigues, just for the government. You know what I'm talking about? So I'm kind of lack with that. I know you can sell them on the secondary market. People kind of like that. But it may not be feasible. Some of the camouflage ones I could sell at 100. That's a small population. Not as much as the government, so I'm stuck with this inventory. So I kind of charge them a little more because I got to make this specific to their specification. Okay? Okay, payables management. Now the other thing, how do I pay? I pay to the last minute. I get all these discounts, everything I get, and then I want to make sure I maximize my dollar and get the quality and everything else. Okay, remember just-in-time inventory. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. Just-in-time inventory. I got to pay them a little more, but I don't have to have the storage. I don't have the inventory. As long as the warehouse and the manufacturer, there's no disruption in their logistics process, I'm okay. I'm willing to pay that. But I offset that. I don't have obsolete. I just get what I need. Or I just order manufacturing times because I'm not sure how my customer is going to do. Pay at the last day possible. Determine amounts payable outstanding. Stretching accounts payable. I could adjust that. And is the cheapest source of funding. Now the last one is inventory, and I do have a good video in there about inventory, or what they call sell-through for retail, but it makes the same thing. You got to look at the inventory, not at how many turns I did at the year end. Fine, that's nice. It gives me an overview. I got to know how I adjust this monthly, and depending on my customer base, on my cycles, on my budget, do I have too much inventory? I got to have enough inventory. These are my busy seasons. These are my cycle. These here are slower. I have to be able to have the inventory slow down, but I look at annually, but then I break it up in different segments, and I had to make those agreements with my suppliers, okay, and when I need them. Okay, benefits of holding inventory, out stocks, out runs, cost of inventory, acquisition costs, inventory itself is usually 1 year, order cost of placing an order. And the orders are a lot of them, if you look at it, with technology, they're done. Once I use it and I say, here's how much inventory I want to every month I want this, or if my inventory drops to this safety stock, please order automatically. So not all this stuff, but be careful. That's what a lot of people do. They have everything in automatic payment, automatic inventory replenishment. But now my customers or my process change that I don't need that one inventory as much as I do something else. Now look, if when they look at inventory, and let's tie it on to the personal. A lot of people after the first of the year they go to the health club. Well, okay, you can pay monthly on the bills to utilize the health club. If I pay monthly, what happened? Then basically, if I'm not using it, I have to pay, so I'm saving money. That's my thing. But if I do it for a year, they say, hey, look, we reduce it by maybe 30, 40%. Oh, man, a year, 30, 40%. That's a lot of money. Okay, that's good. But then what if you're only using it for 4 months, but I'm still paying that every month the full amount? I'm losing money in the long run because I'm not using their services. I'm only using 4 months out of that, or I buy too much equipment, remember? So you got to be careful on how much money or how I tie in into this inventory and supply. Don't. It's nice to have an automatic, but you have to check it so often. A lot of things say, "Hey, just automatic renewal, whether you like it or not." You buy the paper. Yeah, I always cross out that thing which says automatic renewal unless you call in. That's not my contract. When it's no, the contract said that. No, I crossed it out. Said I don't accept it. You took my payment on my check. It says I'm not doing automatic renewal. Hey, they still harass me a little bit, but they don't have anything to say. Show me the paperwork. Oh, you crossed out. Well, you shouldn't have crossed. Well, you shouldn't have cast a check. It wasn't following the terms and conditions. So you got to be careful. I had to pay by check. I added in electronic. It's kind of hard to cross that out. All right. So I think I covered everything else here. Ah, perfect. We did everything. Let me see what I have. Remember, this is a quick overview. Remember, I'm trying to look more at so you understand the concept. Because what I've been finding, I've been teaching this class for a while, and what I'm finding out, people that for terms and concepts, they had a cost accounting, they had in the class, the school I'm teaching at, they had like a basic math class that goes through all the how to solve the problem, but they don't understand the concept. They know how to do the problem, to get the result. They don't know what the hell it means. That's what I don't want. I want you to understand conceptually what's going on. Then the mathematics, we're doing that in the YouTubes, how to solve the problem, but you have to see what company they're doing. What's my terms and condition? And then I'll look at the numbers. This seems kind of high. I know that my average is, what's my turnaround rate? Well, I got 45 days and everyone else is 30. Let's change that because I got more cash coming in. I'm saving money because if I have that thing, it's good for me. Remember, 'cause I'm trying to get to 45 days because I keep that money longer before I pay them. But for me, I mean, the business that's giving me 45 days, they don't have that cash available for 45 days. And so they may have to take short-term loans, so they have to adjust it. But you have to deal with the customer. If I'm saying, hey, 45 days, I'm not going with you. I'm going to go over here because they're willing to do that because they'll give it to me maybe for 1 year or 2 years because they want to bring my business in there. I'll do the gamble. I'll switch. You got to move. Look, a lot of us stick with the same bank over and over and over again. It's too much paper. Nah, it's not too much paper. You keep this bank and open up another account, another thing, and finally make your payroll. Everything else is set up, and then drop this one. You always have to look for the best deal. It's too much work. It looks like a lot of work for you because it's not that much money. But if you're a company that millions of dollars you could utilize to put money back into your business, to buy your supplies, to expand other business, part of finance. Again, my name is Dr. George Mochocki, and thank you for taking this class. Let's see how many minutes I have. 36 minutes. I went way over. I'll talk to you later. Goodbye. I'll see you in the next chapter.